Should arts be as important as science in school? Well, joining the panel now is cellist Julian Lloyd Webber, who is principal of the Birmingham Conservatoire. Christina Adone is a writer and director of the Centre for Character and Values. Toby Young is associate editor of The Spectator. And Edwina Dunn is the chief executive of consumer insight group StarCount and the chair of Your Life, a government initiative set up to promote science, technology, engineering and maths. Good morning to you all. OK, so I'm going to start with the obvious question and really obvious answer from you, Julian. I'm sure I'm going to ask everyone. Science or arts?
Science. No, arts.
Oh, nearly slipped up.
But the big argument for learning from what they do in Shanghai is that Chinese students are way ahead of British students when it comes to maths. At the age of 15, they are on average 3 years ahead of their 15-year-old British counterparts, and the most disadvantaged students in Shanghai do better in maths than the most privileged students in the UK. They're obviously doing something right. It seems sensible to learn from them.
Julian Lloyd Webber, does it mean then if you add to the money in sciences or maths, are we subtracting from the arts?
Well, it's very interesting to me that this scheme is coming from Shanghai, where it's perfectly normal for children to play instruments. And I wonder if that's actually helping them with their maths, as very often been proved. My wife is from Shanghai. I know the setup there really well. 1 in 6 of our students at Birmingham Conservatoire are from China, and the whole of the Far East, Korea, South Korea, Japan, it's perfectly normal for a child to play an instrument, and that's something that, unfortunately, is no longer the case here.
But we don't want just professionals. We want human beings. We want flourishing, thriving human beings who know their music, who know about stories, and absolutely storytelling, for me, who is so interested in the transmission of values. Storytelling is essential. It's fundamental to us. It's the way we tell the world who we are and who we want to become.
Julian, you're not going to disagree with that.
The government has just come up with a whole range of statistics about the creative arts. The creative arts in this country bring in £84 billion a year, and there's nearly 2 million people active in the creative arts. That's their job. So it makes no sense at all to me to be cutting it from the national curriculum. This is something that actually benefits the country. The wonderful thing, one of the many wonderful things about music is that it brings people together. It has no barriers of language, no barriers of background or race. And at a time like this, when this country's never been so split down the middle as it is now, it's just madness to take it out. I mean, Theresa May have ensured or may ensure that the Tory party is no longer the nasty party. It's certainly the nasty party when it comes to making cuts to music education.
Toby.
I think it's a false dichotomy to present it as an either-or choice between the arts on the one hand and sciences on the other.
Agree.
There certainly has been more emphasis on science and humanities, GCSEs.
I agree that's a sadness. However, I do think it's terrible when you are the mother of a daughter who is terribly interested in the arts and who, wants to read and write and become an actress maybe, and who is told by her teachers, by her peers, by her family's friends, that, oh, you're letting down the side as a girl. Why are you not going into maths and sciences? Are you being, stereotypical? And I think that's terrible.
Well, surely the whole point is that children are good at different things. I mean, it has to be a balanced curriculum. I mean, I'd be really upset if my little 5-year-old daughter comes out of school, having been taught nothing about music. Of course she's got music at home, but if you haven't got music at home, it has to come from the
there
school.
is an argument. I mean, in your home, one would imagine that any child would have access to music, but there is that argument that it's about access. If you need to be taught an instrument, I was very lucky I was taught an instrument, but given an instrument by the local educational authority and had lessons. I was very privileged in that sense at a state comprehensive school, which the money isn't there now. So perhaps when you see it in a broader sense of sciences, it's easier to teach on maths than it is to teach...
But you can teach music on maths. I mean, that can be done extremely successfully.
Not musical instruments as successfully.
You can. I mean, if you play within an orchestra, that can be one of the best things because you're working at something, again, bringing people together, working at something bigger than yourself as an individual.
I think Julian's right. I mean, if schools want to prioritise music teaching, they can. The funding's still there. I've co-founded 4 schools now, and in the secondary school, which I helped set up in 2011, we have something like 90% of the children doing the EBAC this year at GCSE.
Which is?
Which is maths, English, 2 sciences, a humanity and a foreign language.
No arts.
But we also have something like the highest percentage of children entered for music GCSE, because we have a thriving music department, than of any school in the country. So it's perfectly possible to combine the two.
It shouldn't be this kind of postcode lottery. You know, some children have access to music, others don't get any at all. Apparently, 40% of children from the lower income brackets never get to play music at school.
And never go to a concert.
No.
But music is actually quite an expensive subject to teach, and so too physics. And actually 40% of state schools have nobody studying physics at A level. Nobody. And so, you know, this is a real dilemma.
So what I really hate about this argument is this either or. It doesn't have to be either or. If you play an instrument, it helps your schoolwork. That's the thing that we can't seem to be able to get through to our lovely politicians.
But what we're asking is whether learning to play an instrument and having that skill is as important as having a science-based skill in terms of what it ends up in work. And, you know, what do you need
Give
then?
the child to find the opportunity to find out for themselves.
Have you always been into sciences?
Yes, I have, but now I'm even more because of all the competition.
OK, so do you still like music and drama and arts? Do you sing and dance?
I sing, and yeah, I do like it, because, well, singing has creativity, but so does science.
Oh, OK, she's an all-rounder, Naga. She's an all-rounder.
Yeah, I think we could learn a thing or two. I'm feeling rather an underachiever here. Julian, you were nodding there, listening to Hannah say, you know, the balance between...
I think the balance is really a fundamentally important thing. There was one point Toby said earlier about the schools you're involved with. I mean, there have been many examples of schools when they've introduced music and it's actually turned their results completely around and brought up all the results in the subjects that the national curriculum's so obsessed by. So
but music is part of the national curriculum. I think that's a misunderstanding.
Well,
I wrote a book about the new national curriculum.
What I mean by that is that some schools have found very clever ways of not really doing it, so that they do it for half a term. I mean, the academies are not part of the national curriculum anyway, and there's more and more of those. I think we just need to be very careful. A whole load of teachers, music teachers, have been laid off. It's so easy to destroy something, so very difficult to bring it back.
The message is, this is what we as a society value. And that message is confirmed and reinforced with the salaries we give to the engineer rather than, say, the musician, who, unless it's a Julian...
And Julian, how do you inspire? Because we're going to finish with Hannah in a minute. How do you inspire a young person when they hear you're going to earn more money? What was it, £65,000 starting salary as an engineer? When you still have the phrase poor struggling musician or poor struggling actor. How do you inspire them? Give us one line.
There might be a few poor struggling scientists around. I don't know. It just depends. It's perfectly possible. As I said, you know, massive figure that music and the other creative arts make for this country.
Are there poor struggling scientists?
I can't think of one.
Edwina, do you know any?
They're paid on average 15% more as soon as they come out with those qualifications.
Well,
so it is worth more. Then
yeah,
that's...
Say, we talk about the Conservative Party. Their greatest ever leader, Winston Churchill, was reputed to say, during the war, when he was asked, we need to cut the arts budget, he said, why are we fighting the war then?
I'm going to finish on that point, and that's very poignant.